So let's start with the initial training first. So let's say I'm a brand new hazmat employee, all right? I've never prepared a hazmat shipment before. And my boss says, hey, I want you to help with this. DOT is actually kind of nice about this. You'll notice they give me 90 days to get trained if I am a new employee. Now, I do want to be clear, there's a little caveat to this. You have 90 days if you work under the direct supervision of someone who is properly trained. So what that means is during that 90-day period, you can't actually just be off on your own, doing your own thing all by yourself. You actually have to have someone kind of looking over your shoulder who can notice if you're about to make any mistakes, and they can say, whoa, hold up there, that's not how you close that package, or hold up, that's the wrong label on that box there. So if you didn't actually have someone directly supervising you, you would actually have to get trained immediately before you perform any functions. But as long as someone's directly supervising you, you do have 90 days. Now in terms of retraining, DOT hazmat training, you'll notice, is required at least once every 3 years. And actually even a little more specific, 3 years from your anniversary date. So on whatever specific day you get trained, they will use that to count down the 3 years. And the DOT, they assume you forgot everything. So all those topics I mentioned, the general awareness training, the function specific, the security awareness, you gotta do it again every 3 years. And sometimes during that 3-year period, sometimes you might need to get a little bit of update training. Now there's different things that could trigger update training. For instance, maybe your job duties change. A good example of this would be, let's say your boss has trained you on how to properly package something, but he never trained you on the marks and labels, and now he says, hey, we actually want you to put the marks and labels on that package too. Well, since I was never trained on that topic, I need a little bit of update training so I know how to properly do that. Or maybe, for instance, the DOT regulations changed and it affected the way that I do my job. A good example of this is maybe there's a certain hazard label that we've always been using at our site. But now the DOT regulations have actually updated that label, so now it looks a little bit different. Now the update training doesn't have to be anything overly complicated. It can be something as simple as this. Hey everybody, let's go meet in the conference room. Everybody's here? Great. All right, so there's a new label that came out. Here's what the old one looks like. Here's what the new one looks like. Don't use this one anymore. Start using this one over here. So again, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's not full training all over again. It's just a little bit of update training just to get me on the right page with the new requirement. Now, once you have gone through training, the DOT does require that you get tested on what you've been trained on. It is required by law. You must be tested in some way. Now, there's no specific type of test it has to be. When we do training, we often will just do multiple choice quiz, but it could have been a fill in the blank. It could have been an oral test. It could also be a, perform this function type of test. For instance, the test could be, hey, you, go over there, put together that package and put the marks and labels on it correctly. And once you have been trained and tested, and actually this goes along with what Eric mentioned in the chat box, absolutely, you got to make sure that you document that training. All right, you have to document it. I'm telling you right now, if an inspector shows up, they will always ask for proof of training, okay? You have to have training records. Now, in that training record, it will require certain bits of information. It will require your name on there, the date of training, a description of the training, and the name and address of the training provider. The fifth and final bullet there is you'll also need a certification by the hazmat employer that the employee was trained and tested. So your boss would actually need to write down something and say, hey, I'm the boss, and I'm promising my employee was fully trained and tested. You want to keep that on file for at least 3 years, because every 3 years, we've got to get retrained. So we always just want to make sure that we have a current record of training on file.